So my organization's called Paying It Forward, Paying It Now. And how I got to that, I abbreviate that to PIFPIN. So that's what Sam was speaking to. The title of a name is because I was one of those young people that I had a creative and an entrepreneurial gift on both sides. I had dreams in trying to do something career related in that regard, but my school, the education system, and most importantly, my family, they didn't really support that. They were just like, be a lawyer because you're smart, be a lawyer. So I found that now that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm really, really, really invested in trying to pay it forward. And by paying it forward, trying to support the young ones that are starting their entrepreneurial or creative journey in a way that I felt like I wasn't. And my background is as a community researcher. So all that means is I was one of those people that brought the community and the research experts together, because a lot of research experts come into our communities and then they tell us about us, but who knows us better than us? And this is where this picture actually comes from. You can see this lovely bunch of people. I was working in South London, and a lot of these people are just normal community members that ended up publishing really high level successful research. So we worked with a lot of different organizations, a lot of different universities. We got funded more than once. And how I wound up in East London was because of my fiance. So yeah, I came here to live with her. And I came down with the hugest ego in the world, talking about, oh, in South London, we was doing everything right, Newham shit, you don't have anything. And needless to say, she actually chopped me all the way up and down, left and right, and diagonally as well. And she said to me, I'm born and raised in Custom House. So if you're going to say anything negative about Newham, I better see you walk it like you talk it. And this is how I wound up here. So let me see. You can see my next slide. So in terms of PIFPIN, what PIFPIN does is I try to be the guy behind the guy to bring the creatives and the entrepreneurs together. And when I bring them together, I would like to bring them together for a community purpose so that we can have something homegrown and real to actually cheer about. So as you can see in this picture where you see me with the orange hat, that's the very, very first community consultation I did. Similar to this one, but I did that in person in Freemasons Road. We were doing a community fun day. And this lady that I'm speaking to is called Denise, and she runs Custom House Bookshop, which is one of the best community organizations in Custom House. If you ever want to do anything community related, or if you have children or you just want to get some books, I suggest that number 2 Freemasons Road is just next to Custom House train station. Denise has showed me a lot of love as I started to get my bearings working in Newham, given the fact that I wasn't born and raised here. So these are some of the partners that I've is Kemi, that's right on the top right hand corner. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse. Custom House Bookshop, that's Denise, who I spoke of. Royal Docks Academy, I work closely with Newham Council in general. Newham Fathers United with Purpose. If you know any fathers that want a safe space to be able to talk to other fathers, that's a really, really, really great initiative. And this YouTube video over here is an interview I did with a local mental health project called Talk to Terry. So there's a guy called Terry Regan. He's based in Custom House. He's one of like our kind of community superstars. And he did an interview with me where I spoke a little bit more about my adversities growing up as an orphan and why I decided to try and put my experiences into some kind of community, working towards the community as I'm doing right now. And as you can see here, Shipman Youth Zone, that is where I plan to actually run my project. So I'm not sure if you knew, Shipman Youth Centre got knocked down. They're building it back up again. Kemi's a little bit scared because she said that they're building it out of wood, but needless to say, we're looking forward to it. And that's going to be a place where I'm going to be able to do the delivery of my project. Hold on a second. Yeah. So my project is going to be called, where the whole point of it is I'm going to go for this 20K funding from Newham Council, and I'm going to hire experts in business, financial literacy, Web3 digital skills, mental wellness, and also Kemi to help young people develop a a professional pathway for themselves. And I'm going to have 3 groups of 7 participants. I'm targeting the age bracket of under 30 and over 16, because I feel like that's that crucial juncture of your life where you're trying to figure things out. And sometimes you come out of school or university with a degree, but that doesn't necessarily where you're going to go or what you're trying to do. And the whole purpose of that is to be able to, by the end, they finish the We're Ahead of the Curve project, they have a clear idea of how they want to take their passions, take their skills, and leverage it in the economy as an entrepreneur, basically getting that support that I wish that I had way back when. And that the outcomes that I want to see, that I am targeting, is to build a vibrant hub whereby financial literacy and creativity can operate in the same space. I think if that happens, particularly for our young people going into the economy, some really great stuff can happen. I want to be able to set some new narratives, because the youth are often the seeds of change. So I'd like us to be intentional about that. Future skills is all the digital stuff that I spoke to, and more local businesses, because I feel that, especially in Freemasons Road, we've got a lot of closed down shops. We've got all this money with Excel and all of that type of stuff. And we have skills that we want to leverage in the economy as well. So hopefully with my project, I can support some people that might actually be able to work on a shop front, and you might be able to visit their store. And yeah, that's about the long and short of it. And that's just a few more pictures from when I was doing community research in South London. And I'd like to be able to take that engagement and the community stepping on the front lines. I'd like to be able to bring that into East London. That's me.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And I look forward to seeing that come forward. I'm going to share very briefly about Choose Right and the concept behind it, and then just really want to hear from those of you that are with us now. Okay, so Choose Right is about working together to build strong relationships, not just lip service, but actually get to know the people that are in our communities. This has been born out of witnessing a really terrible and vicious attack on a young girl that was coming from a school in Prince Regent's Lane, and she was attacked by about 5 children, one of which was wanted or missing, and there were about 50. You know how it used to be back in the day when something's brewing, but it's like nowadays when something's brewing, it's not fists. It can be a lot worse than that. And this young girl was literally beaten to a pulp. Her hair was going that way and her body's going the other way. And there were no police in sight. When I spoke to some of the businesses afterwards, they said that they had tried to contact the police, and then they had so many questions that he ended up putting the phone down. That's how many children can you see? How old are they? What are they wearing? He had not got time for that. He just wanted police to come. So this incident had brought a lot of, literally, I lost sleep over it. I was so disturbed by what I'd seen and the way in which this child was getting her head smashed in the floor. And I thought, if I wasn't there to step in and drag her away, brain damage would have been something that she could have suffered from. And this is just like a 15-year-old girl. And then when I was speaking to some of the young ones afterwards, they were saying the same thing happened last month from the same girl. And this happens on a regular occurrence. And so it just enabled me to start talking to the local businesses and things like that. And this is where Choose Right has come from, that we need to have more communication and more awareness of what's actually happening on our doorsteps. So going back to these slides here, the aim is to promote unity amongst the senior citizens, those of us residents within Plaistow. And you'll see that this model is not just for Plaistow. You can pick this up and you can run with it anywhere. The business shops, they would have a logo that would look something like this in their window, in their shop window, to show we're part of this campaign. If anything, if you feel like you're in any danger, come here, we will contact the police for you, and the police will take action, because we're all part and we're all communicating with what's going on. So at the moment, and I was explaining as well that, you know, when I was growing up, I had really a lack of trust in the police for what I'd seen as a youth, from what family members had experienced from the police. And it wasn't until I met, when I was working in the school in Hackney, that there was a police officer there. And I was really, even though I was in my 20s, I was really like, I'm not sure about this guy, because he got that uniform on, you know. So I can really understand that disconnect between certain communities, young people, and the police. I've lived it, but he turned it around for me, just from the way that he was as an individual. He just made me see the police completely different. And you can't tar everybody with the same brush, and that goes for all communities. You can't say all Asians are like this, all black people like that, all police are like this. No, it's not the case. So we need to, those that are you know, doing wrong, need to be it needs to be stopped. And that's in all different sectors, whether it's young people. The behavior that's unacceptable needs to stop, and it needs to be corrected. And so the aim is that local businesses, as I say, would be safe havens. Students and parents would know about this. Local authorities and schools would allow workshops to go on in their schools that would raise the awareness of the behavior that is needed, the respect that is needed in order to have a peaceful society. So how are these relationships going to be achieved? So the plan is to, as I say, have workshops in the schools within Plaistow, colleges within Plaistow, and pupil referral units. And if you're not sure what a pupil referral unit is, that's normally young people that have been taken out of mainstream education. Maybe it could be for behaviour, or you know, just antisocial behaviour in some instances. Could be sometimes learning difficulties as well, dependent on the type of pupil referral unit that it is. So and sometimes young people that are not diagnosed with special educational needs can end up in pupil referral units, and they're not supposed to be there, but that's another subject. So we will be having monthly newsletters and events as well to bring the community together. So this is an overview of what we're going to be doing. It's not been costed out fully, but the more funding that Distinctive Solutions can get, the more workshops that we can give, and it will be completely transparent with regard to costings and everything like that. So I'm going to stop, and I'm going to hand over to you, wonderful people, to let us know your thoughts and feedback on what we have said. Can we start with we're ahead of the curve, which is what Marcus discussed first? Oh yes, Sant, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from the Wall End area, but I get involved in a lot of these sort of things. The thing is, I'm more concerned about with the facilities that you people are not getting anyway, and you're starting from scratch. And I've been screaming for a long, long time like that. We should be building, we should be preserving the youth clubs that we got and building new ones. But what was happening now is that since we've got a policy of build, 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 and go for seal money that's going to do nothing for nobody really in the long term, because unless you focus it on the young and early intervention, it's not going to do anything. So the whole purpose of these community assemblies, to me, is just pointless. And I'm a realist. And life experiences have told me you just can't chat about it for 2 hours and think that's going to solve the problem. right? When it comes down to creativity, when it comes down to propagating creativity, when it comes down to propagating young children, you've got to give them space. You've got to have the right mentors around them. If they don't have the right mentors, they lose direction. I know, because I did. So I'm going by personal experience. You've got to have the right mentors, the right facilities, and the right space. We have certain bits of space left. The council is constantly at the door trying to smash the door down and trying to take this space over. And people like you are going to find it difficult, because you can't get a person to put them behind a shop. We've got a fantastic market. I represent Friends of Queen's Market. Now, I know the shop in Custom House, the bookshop. So, and I know all the people that are doing good, the grassroots people. Queen's Market, they want to develop on, but yet we got such viability there that the market's only used, I think, 25%. And yet we could have space there for children to come in, invent something from school or college with a mentor, bring it to a stall in the market, and then they could try to sell it or get an idea. What they're doing, they're mixing with adults, they're getting different views, their mentors getting different views, and the mentors creating a course or a direction where you can take it. But that's not happening, because we haven't got a safe space for these youngs to go and stand there with their mentor. So that is what I've been. This is the reason why I felt I was at the police thing on Friday, on Monday, and the police commissioner was there, and they wouldn't allow me to talk until I really put my foot down. And I stand. I said, listen, if Redbridge stopped building, we've got a fantastic youth club, Wanstead Youth Club. They want to knock it down and put flats there. There's a recording studio there. It's a fantastic recording studio. We've got young musicians dying to get into a recording studio. How you could keep them off the streets for hours, and they'll have mentors, but they want to knock it down. So your job's going to be hard.
Thank you so much for that. That was one. Me and Kemi were both there at the police thing on Monday. I think I heard you talking. So that was quite interesting. Wanstead Youth Club. I actually grew up in Redbridge. I lived in Wanstead for 10 years. So I literally lived on Merino Close, where Wanstead Youth Club is. And the fact that but I haven't been there ever since. The fact that you're telling me that they're going to knock it down, you've actually really put a bee in my bonnet with that. In terms of my project, I do have it written into my proposal that I'm going to do a community champion scheme where I'm going to go through my network, through lovely people such as yourself, and try and get basically mentors for these young people we're going to be working with. My other job is I work as a youth mentor for an organization called Wipers Youth. So I'm knee deep in the understanding of how important a mentor is. And I would not be here if it wasn't for me having a mentor, because obviously with my background, it was very easy to slip, and I was slipping. So what you're saying around the mentoring, Queen's Market, Wanstead Youth Club, and even just the stuff you were saying around the community police commissioner thing we were at, I've taken all those notes and I'm definitely applying that into what we're doing.
Marcus, Custom House used to have some vibrant youth clubs there. I'm telling you, I've lived there all my life, and I know. And I'm as brown as they come. So, and I've gone into these clubs with white boys in there at the time. And I'll be honest with you, you had to stand your ground. But the thing is, you felt comfortable in the youth club environment. And if it were, and these youth clubs familiarize each other. Once you familiarize yourself, it saves you from a night. It saves you from a beating, because they know somebody else. They said, no, forget it. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? So familiarity, the youth is so important. They cannot tribalize. You cannot get them to start being tribal. They cannot have their own little groups. You mustn't allow that with the youngsters. Do you understand? You can't allow it. You have to have them all mixing, all talking, all chatting, or playing football, or this or that, because they will grow up together, and that will save them through life. No police is going to save them.
Yeah, no, it's already too late. Like if we interact with our young ones by the time they're in cuffs, it's already too late.
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late.
Antoinette, can I get some feedback from you, please? I think you're on mute still. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm listening to what everyone's saying, but I'm thinking we're a bit out of touch with what's actually going on. Like
All right.
on the next, you just go on a simple app like Nextdoor. There's just so much, like what Kemi was saying, vicious attacks going on all around. Mobile phones are getting taken. Like, as much as I want to support the group, I'm actually scared of the area myself. I ain't lying. I'm not going to sit here in front like I would just go walk up and down there. I wouldn't. It's called Murder Mile. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's known as. My friend lived there. Like, there was 7 murders within a 5-year period. That's recently. So it's a lot. And I know what you're saying, San, about everyone being together, and I love that idea. But unfortunately, the youth today are, and I mean, bound by that code of area. You can't just ignore it, because people lose their lives over just one foot in the wrong area. If you get caught slipping, your life's taken. So you really have to acknowledge where they are and how they have to live now. And I'm not saying I like it, but I have to acknowledge it, because I've got a son who's 18, and if I send him into certain zones, I'm trying to kill him. So I have to acknowledge where he can go and where he can't go. The kids sometimes know. So as parents, if we just force them and say, look, everyone's got to play together, that could be a death sentence for them. And some of these young people, even the parents aren't safe, because if the gangs know your face and this and that, I've heard of mums whose children's in restorative justice, and they are not able to go shopping because the gang members have seen their faces. So it's actually really a real worry. I mean, I'm really happy that you're prepared to face all these challenges, Marcus, and start up something in shipment. You know what I mean? I'm backing you all the way, but yeah, I might just need a little bulletproof and maybe like some kind of self-defense training. I'm not
sure. To tell you the truth, no, thank you so much for that. With my youth work with Wipers, we're based pan London, so they're sending me to Haringey. They're sending me to all the worst places. Yeah, so I think
not worst places, Marcus. Task force areas.
So they're sending me to those areas. So what I know I'm actually doing for a fact is I'm building a network with people that they have the credibility and the track record of being able to steer some of these youths. You're not going to get all of them. So that is the type of stuff I want to bring to Custom House. It's almost like I'm trying to bring some of the ideas and the talent here. So that's why I feel like the project is important. But you've already told me this stuff personally. And like I can't ignore it, because I'm seeing it in other areas too.
Yeah, you have to be realistic. I mean, I love the idea of the music, what Sant said. Music does bring all youths together. And I love the idea of the club itself, because I think it's important to have somewhere that they can go and feel safe. But, you might have to understand that their security is going to have to be at that club, because there can be gang violence that can pop off when you've got kids from different areas mixing. So you just got to be aware of it. For Gate Youth Centre, they came inside and stabbed a boy.
Wow. Antoinette, I would just say, before Sant comes through, I think that it's definitely a journey. It's not something that's going to take place overnight, and it's the mindset that needs to change. And for me, the younger that we can work with the young ones, as Sant was saying, it's like intervention and prevention before they can get into that whole mindset of, I can't step here and I can't do this. We need to they need to feel safe, because it's all about security, and it's not about people feeling like I'm going to try this and then my life is in danger. That is not, anything that we're trying to do. But it's just we need to challenge it, and we need to talk about this in this way, because a lot of people don't really know how bad it is.
I think you need to start a lot earlier than maybe 10 years old, because literally the chicken shops are grooming them from 10 when they're going to buy chicken and chips, free 2-piece chicken and chips for £1. That's the shops that are, you know, they were hanging around at those kind of places. And it's literally 10 years old. I've got friends whose children have been fully in by 12, 13, 14. And
Really?
you know, I know a friend's cousin, the young boy, he was sleeping with a knife under his bed. He's got a 5-year-old sister in the house. The mum was paying off the gang members, the dad was paying off the gang members, but they were still, the boy's still in the gang. Yeah.
Mm.
A lot, like
I,
it's a lot.
I just wanted to highlight to you guys that our funding that we're going for is attached to each individual ward within Newham. So my project is gonna strictly be for young people that either live, go to school, or the young adults, because I've got some 20-year-olds that work in Custom House in Canning Town. So it's really gonna be place-based. It's not gonna be an entire Newham thing, because you're set tripping in a postcode type of thing. And Kemi's project is gonna be a Plaistow-based project, really trying to aim for the people in Plaistow. So there is a little bit of a geographical specification to what we're doing. I just wanted to add that. Sant, come through.
Yeah, Marcus, what it is, when I was in Redbridge and it was the police commissioner booth. So the Metropolitan, they're trying to wash their linen now. You know, they're trying to wipe, you know, all their racism and their homophobic stuff. Because I threw that at them, and they took the mic off me. But the other bit, right, I threw at the end. So because they was being too polite. Now, so I said to him, I'm not from Redbridge. I said, I'm from Newham. I want to know when you're going to come to Newham. I'm telling people in Redbridge what's going on in Newham. And I said, you don't even want to allow it through your front door, let alone over the border here. And I said, listen, let me tell you something. Criminals don't have borders. So that way, my Newham is over there as well. And I said to the commission, when are you going to come to Newham? And I want you to deal with, right, the grassroots workers. I don't want you to deal with councillors because they haven't got a clue. They live in a bubble. I want you to talk to grassroots people who live and smell and know what's going on. Because the councillors are in some sort of denial. And because of that denial, they just do not care. But grassroots people, they do it for free. They do it because they believe. They do it because they're still here. They've been here for years. So what I'm trying to tell him, you need to come in, speak to grassroots people and work with them. And if they say they need more policing, then you better tell them to put it in the budget because we're suffering down there. And that's what I told him. So he said he's going to check. So I will be phoning up. I'll be sending an email to the Met straight to him because I've got his email address. So hopefully he'll have hopefully he will be, and hopefully everybody else will be there as well. And just don't let the council speak. We have to speak before they do, or speak louder. But that's what I told him. So they've got a different issue than we have. We don't have the crime that we've got over there.
Kim, I want to come through with your point, and then we bring in Alexis because we haven't heard from her yet.
No, I said what I needed to say. Just Antoinette just blown me away with this younger than 10. So even though I feel, so that's for me, this focus group has done its purpose because I'm there, like the 10-year-olds that I know, they're not going to be taking a chicken and chip from nobody. They're not going to be at no chicken and chip shop, you know. But these are the things that's going on. So thank you for sharing that.
Alexis.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, good. So I don't really come from the same background in terms of, you know, the work that you're doing, but I'm just looking at what you're saying overall and more likely to sort of signpost you to people who do that kind of work. I do have somebody in mind who works with gangs, who's based in Stratford. I could signpost you. His name's Steve Joseph, and he's been working with gangs actually quite a lot. He worked with the police as well, so I could signpost you to him in terms of like his knowledge. I'm not sure about how that impacts your project, but he has, you know, direct knowledge of both the police and working with gangs. Yeah. What came to mind to me, and I'm not an expert in this at all, so in terms of the gang members, I mean, if there was an opportunity somehow, I think somebody mentioned about getting them in, one place together. But my sort of strategy would be thinking about how can you communicate with those gang members? I mean, who do they respect in terms of role models? So I gave an example, and I don't know, I mentioned this to you before, I think, but there was somebody who was in prison before who some gang members might respect because like that person comes from a background of gang members. And maybe someone like that having those type of guest speakers to have a conversation with some gang members. I mean, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I know it's worked in other projects relating to gang members, but obviously you can't have all the different gangs together. So somehow it would have to be a way of getting, some sort of kudos for those individual gang members that are known in that area. Either they think they're getting something from it, even if it's like whatever it is, right? I don't know. That's not my area, but maybe that's something you can consider. What else would I say? So I said signposting. The other thing is I thought it was really good about community champions and mentors. I think in a way that sort of links in with what I just said. And you also might want to consider as part of your proposal, or at least include it on your proposal, something around mental health for young people, mental health as a result of any of this, or special education needs. You might want to consider adding some sort of aspect on your proposal around that, because I think those areas are attractive. And in terms of your proposal, it might be looked at more broadly as well, even if you are putting through a proposal and you're competing with other potential organizations. It might be good to think about that. So that's my summary.
No, thank you so much for that.
But it's all really interesting, really interesting. It's not easy work, and I commend you for the what you're trying to do. It's not easy at all, but it is really needed and really good work. So I think that the council absolutely should be supporting a project like this. They should be behind this. But I think you also need to just make sure you've got evidence to back up things that you're saying. So it's not just about having a meeting like now, but have you got like statistical evidence? I'm sure you have actually, but can you include it in the proposal related to your area? Like, your data that you can put onto your proposal. I think that could be good, because that's always the case, is they want to see, even though they already have the information, but you need to plug it out of the Newham archives or whatever and put it on paper or whatever it is that you need to do. That might be something to think about.
No, thank you so much for that, Alexis. I'm definitely gonna apply that to my proposals. And I just wanted to highlight that for my PIFPIN project, we're ahead of the curve. I'm gonna try and target the young adults and the older teenagers that want to pursue entrepreneurialism, creativity, because there's different engagement points of engagement. I think with the rehabilitation aspect, I'm more likely to do that type of work in my actual youth engagement work that I do. Whereas with this project, it's a little bit more, once they're reformed, what next? Because once they put the knives down, etc., what you're going to do next? And that, I think, is where this project exists. And I think, speaking with you guys, I'm going to make that more apparent. I'm going to highlight that more, so it doesn't get confused in future.
Yeah, Steve Joseph, just remind me to try and get his number for you, because he's definitely done the hardcore work with gangs. And he's written some, I'm not sure if he's done a PhD or something on it, but he's actually a grassroots person, but he did do study on it as well. So yeah, I think he's definitely, he can definitely have a word with him in terms of like some ideas, if he's got some spare time. And I'll mention you to him as well. You can get hold of him.
Thank you.
It's the flow of communication and information that all of these parties or these stakeholders would be on board within Plaistow. So already some work has taken place with regard to local businesses, and the ones that have been approached have already said they're more than happy to be a safe haven. And as Antoinette mentioned, with regard to feeling safe, is key. It's key, with regard to Maslow's hierarchy. We need to feel safe in order to even begin to achieve anything else after that. So yeah.
As well, that came to my mind, because we're talking a lot about gangs, which is like boys in a way. So I just wanted to mention, like, I've spoke to a couple of girls who have talked about grooming and how they were like, like having relationships with older guys, and they were in school and these guys were picking them up in cars and stuff like that. And the safeguarding, and it wasn't flagged up, it wasn't picked up with the schools, and there's a lot of this going on as well. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know. And also as well, restorative justice came into my mind as well, because I was talking to someone about something, and I think it's kind of what's needed. Like when you were talking about getting maybe an old school gang member to talk to the youngers, I think back in the day that approach really did work. But if you look at today's kids, like, they don't care about the bad man from 20 years ago. They don't care about him. I believe that's my opinion. But if I would like, maybe it's up to, like, we have to get some of these ex gang members to say, like, literally, what did you want to see? What would have helped you, or stuff like that? Because I just think it's a different culture. Like in my day, we respected elders, so therefore it would have worked. But in this generation, it's not really a respect elders. They're very much about the postcode, straight, the road, the estate, the block. Just, it's very small. It's much smaller. So, but I really like your idea, and I've never heard anything like it, Kemi. So I just really want to commend you, because it's something that I just think it just makes so much sense. Like, of course, they're all supposed to be working together. Of course, you should be able to run into a local shop and they protect you. But it's not happening. And just looking at this badge and knowing that, say one day a little child might just see your little sign, run in there, and their life might be saved. It's really inspiring me. So well done. And Marcus, with your one as well. Like, really good, really good. I'm glad I came along today.
I think that that was what Antoinette just said about your life could be saved. Maybe you could use that somewhere, that sort of actual comment on somewhere of one of your presentations, because I think that's what stands out from what she's saying. Your life might be saved. I think that's something that would stand out in anybody's mind. So maybe you could even sort of adopt that. That's something like the wow factor, like your life could be saved. It's like one of those terms I think might help.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
The People Powered Places funding, is it quite easy to get, do you think, or is it quite difficult? Have you found it quite easy to get money from Newham? Or?
I have never applied successfully in Newham. I actually, the funding that I did do was actually another organisation, even though they're based in Newham, but I've never applied for People Powered Places.
Dean is always, he's quite free with information, so I've definitely done my due diligence. And see, with People Powered Places, the community needed to come together periodically to set the agenda, then suggest what projects should go through, and now it's time for us to put that through. So I know in my particular ward in Custom House, Kemi can affirm to that, I've been knocking the house down every time. They know who I am. The community is sponsoring what I'm doing. And I guilt tripped everyone to say, stop engaging young people by the time they're in cuffs. Let's engage them in terms of what you want to do with your life type of thing. So I think provided that I do the statistics as you talked about and have the right type of terminology, I'm 100% confident my thing will go through. And I've got some funding in regards of the Warm Haven. Me and Antoinette, we did the Warm Haven. She's just trying to be modest. We did that whole thing. We got funded. She remembers. So the funding is there. It's there for the taking. But the information to know how to do it properly, you need to know the right people. If I didn't know anything, I'd probably fail. Or if I didn't know anyone. But Gladys, we didn't get to hear from you.
My name is Gladys. I know Antoinette from a course that we did during the COVID time, the 2020 to 21. And after that, I create an organization, raise awareness about loneliness and social isolation among Black women. And this, I was doing it online. I'm still doing online, and every Wednesday, no, 3 weeks each month, in every month, 3 weeks. So that's the thing that I'm doing with for Black women, that we can talk, not suppressing our feelings, and raising awareness to combating loneliness and social isolation. So yeah, so I'm based on East Linton, North London, if you know that place. And yeah, that's me. Thank you so
That's
much.
excellent. That's excellent, and it's needed.
Yeah.
That work is needed.
Yeah, Kemi, what's the closing housekeeping, so we don't keep these good people away from their regular lives?
So I think really we're just rounding up now. To say, what would you suggest? What would you like to see moving forward for young people? This particularly Gladys, you've just joined us. What would you like to see? So Marcus didn't touch on his project because we're two different projects. So what do you think's needed for young people that we haven't discussed, and what do you think's needed for community safety that I have not covered? Just to put that out there, if everyone could give a couple of couple of minutes about that, and then we can close, if that's okay.
So I can speak, or do you want me to write it down?
Please go. Please speak.
Yeah, I think young people need to have a voice. They need to have a voice to say what they experience or what they know. So help to know what the support that they need within the community. So as an adult, we also need to empower them to help them to share and overcome any issue that they experience, so that we know what the support that they need. I didn't finish. Is your email address is Kemi?
Yes, please. Distinctive Solutions. .co.uk. And I think, Gladys, if you heard Marcus speaking, he's covering those areas quite well. Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. So if you can give it to send it to Antoinette for me, so that maybe she can forward to me, because
the recording, we've recorded it especially for you.
All right.
Yeah, anything else? Or are we gonna call it a day?
I just think youth centres is a good thing, somewhere that they can go because they're always closing. And for community safety, I don't even know. I really don't know. Community safety. But I like Kemi's idea. I've never heard anything as good as Kemi's idea. I really like that. So just building upon what she's already started, really, because that is something that often happens. I once went to Shadwell. It's the first time I was visiting Shadwell, and I saw a kid just get stabbed outside with the off license, and he was just on the floor. And you could see he tried to make it to that shop, and the people in the shops was helping him. So it is kind of like what you would do in trouble. You would run to the shop. It's something that children often do when they're being, handed down. So it's so good that, your thing's going to come through, Kemi. And just support you guys in what you're doing. Thanks for being part of it today.
Thank you. I mean, this has been amazing. What I would say as well, some of the workshops. So I worked with ex-army, and so some of the workshops is going to be around first aid. And so, like Damilola Taylor, when he got stabbed and then he just bled out and nobody knew what to do. So even to just raise the awareness about inside the schools about, if there's certain things that happen, if you do see someone that's been stabbed.
Mm.
Don't run off scared. You can actually, as you were saying, help save a life as well. So that's the other side of it as well within the schools, because we have delivered first aid and delivered it well through the army. They've got different ways of doing it. So I believe that's going to be impactful to the youth as well.
Do you know what? I just thought of something, Kemi. You know what? A lot of what you said, just your face every time I speak, it's like trauma counselling. I think we need trauma counselling for the children, because a lot of this is just what I've experienced. You know, kids dying, getting stabbed up in youth centres and stabbed on the streets and stuff like that. And I haven't actually witnessed anything. And a lot of these kids have seen a lot firsthand. So they need counselling, and they need, because they're living in a different world to us, completely different world. So we need someone to actually really hear what their world's like and help them get over some of what they have to go through living in today's, in these areas.
I taught in Hackney. I know I'm going over, but I taught in Hackney for 13 years, right? And I'll tell you, I've been to like 7 funerals for kids, and I'm telling you, like, it is traumatic, and that's as an adult, let alone these kids. And one of them was trying to save someone else. He got stabbed in the neck whilst he was trying to save someone else. That's in Hackney. And so it's like, it's just trauma. And so this same link that I'm going to send to you, when you get to me, Gladys, and whoever else wants it, she deals with trauma, but she deals with parents dealing with the trauma of the kids, but also the angle of children getting support with trauma, I think, is best as well.
Maybe from other children who've also been through trauma, like a support service, like a well-being police, and then a trauma police. Because when something like this has happened in the area, who really seeks out the children that it's happened to, and those that was watching and that were filming and shared it on their phone and whatever else, and really talks to them about how it affects them and what was done right, what was done wrong, how things could be done differently and stuff like that. These are important conversations we need to be having.
Yeah, I mean, to get her in, she's not in the country, but you can get her in online. But literally, we sat there for 2 hours. I didn't move from the nuggets that she continued to drop for adults, like women. But I think to have something like that for youths that's suffering from trauma as well, from these kind of things, would be so. This is another. Wow, I've taken a lot from you guys. Thank you so much, honestly.
Thank you.
No worries.